says, this is Galatians 4:27. For it is written, rejoice, thou barren that bearest not. Break forth and cry, thou that travailest not. For the desolate hath many more children than she which hath an husband. So it's letting you know in the earth, those Ishmaelites, they're more in number. Hagar is the mother of Ishmael, but it's saying that they're greater in number. That's one thing that Catholicism boasts in, as well as Islam. They boast in numbers, right? They boast in how many members that they have worldwide, how many people have converted. Because one thing that they never bring forth when they talk about the numbers for Catholicism, the numbers for Islam, is something called the Crusades. Just like in Christianity, you had the Crusades, wherein the so-called white man went throughout the earth with a Bible and a sword. You either converted to his religion or you were killed. The same thing happened with Ishmael, the Arabs in the Middle East, in the interiors of Africa. Because the Middle East, was created by stenographers, map makers. But it's really a misnomer, because the Middle in the East is two directions. But as far as northeastern Africa, that Arab land, a lot of that was conquered with the sword. If you go to West Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, the Ivory Coast, you'll find a lot of those Hamites subscribe to the religion of Islam. Why? Because those Arabs went into their regions the same way, with that Quran and the sword, right? They had crusades the same way Christianity did. So, you know, this movement right now, this exceeding great army, like it says in Ezekiel 37:10, hey, it's a non-contact sport. Fishing is a non-contact sport. It says that in the book of, is it Jeremiah 16:16? He said, I will send out many fishers, and they shall fish them. Then he'll send out many hunters. But the fact that I'm making is, we're not waking up our people by intimidating them. You know, by saying, hey, you're either gonna convert or die. The way that the Crusades in Christianity went about converting those people. The way that Ishmael went about during his Islamic crusades to spread Islam around the whole entire earth, right? Let me go ahead. It says, for it is written, rejoice thou barren that bearest not. Break forth and cry, thou that travailest not. For the desolate hath many more children than she which has an husband. Now we, brethren, as Isaac are the children of the promise. But as then he that was born after the flesh persecuted him that was born after the spirit, even so it is now, right? That's Arabs versus Israelites. You wonder why Ishmael, even in this time, you go into their stores, they have contempt towards us. Why? Because they know our history, going all the way back to Abraham, right? Even to this day, let me bring this out one more time. It says, now brethren, as Isaac are the children of the promise. But as then he that was born after the flesh persecuted him that was born after the spirit, even so it is now, right? It said he that was born after the flesh persecuted him that was born after the spirit. Even to this day, this is exactly the state of affairs. How you doing, brother? You know, and this is something that a lot of our people don't take into consideration when they're dealing with the nations that are around them about, right? They forget that we have a very rich heritage with these nations round about. A lot of people want to look at our history, starting with the transatlantic slave trade. But even prior to the transatlantic slave trade, our people had relationships. We have a history historically with the nations that are around about. And just because our people want to identify the white man chiefly as our main oppressor, why? Because the transatlantic slave trade going forward. A lot of people, we don't know our history prior to the transatlantic slave trade. Why? Because that's in the Bible. See what I'm saying? We just didn't go from the interiors of Africa being sold by our kings and queens to be brought over here. Like I said, the Arabs, the biblical Ishmaelites, they actually sold us as well during what you call the sub-Saharan slave trade, right? The only place where you can buy a slave right now on the earth is in the Middle East, right? Libya, you have Muammar Gaddafi in that land, but right now, with him being taken out of power, those Arabs are selling those Africans, they have them in bondage. Just to let you know the persona of those so-called Arabs. They understand that we're not their people historically, right? This is Genesis chapter 17 and verse 19. And this is going right back into Abraham and his wife Sarah and his wife Hagar and their children that they had. All right, this is Genesis 17 and 19. It says, "And God said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt name him Isaac. And I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and I will make him fruitful, and I will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation." Right? So right now, Ishmael, he said 12 princes will come out of Ishmael. Why? Because they are a son of Abraham. Father Abraham had many sons. He had 8 sons with 3 different women, right? But it said as far as Ishmael, let me let you know, it said, "Behold, I have blessed him, and I will make him fruitful, and I will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this time set in the next year." Right? So right now, even though those Ishmaelites, those Arabs, even though the kingdom to come, the promises, the covenants, they don't pertain to them, they did have a constellation because they were sons of Abraham. It said 12 princes shall come out of Ishmael. That's why if you go to the Middle East, they have oil fields. They have wealth. The Burj Khalifa, right? The tallest building in Dubai, right? That's all represented of their great wealth. The Most High making good on his word as it pertains to his son Ishmael, right? But it said, "But my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this time in the next year." Right? Let me get this in the book of Psalms 105 and 5. It just hit me. Let me get this in the book Psalms 105 and 5. Right? So this is why the Ishmaelites, even to this day, they don't fool with Jake. Psalms 105 and 5. It said, "Remember his marvelous work that he had done, his wonders and the judgments of his mouth. O ye of Abraham, his servant, ye children of Jacob, his chosen. He is the Lord our power. His judgments are in all the earth. He has remembered his covenant forever, the word which he has commanded to 1,000 generations, which covenant he had made with Abraham, and his oath unto Isaac, and confirmed the same unto Jacob for a law, and to Israel as an everlasting covenant." To Israel as an everlasting covenant, right? The old covenants, right? As well as the new covenants apply with the same people the old covenants were made with, as pursuant to Hebrews 8 and 8 and Jeremiah 31 and 31. But as it pertains to those Ishmaelites, they are not the children of the promise or the covenants. The scriptures call them children of the flesh, right? Going all the way back to Abraham, actually giving Hagar her walking papers, giving her a bottle of water and telling her to take her baby and ride out, right? Ishmael, they understand this history, and they have contempt with the children of the promise. Why? Because the Most High established his covenants with us, his promises with us, and not them. This is why when a Jake go into those mosques, they call you a bead. A bead, that's their derogatory name, meaning slave, right? You go into, you look at the Nation of Islam. They're not even recognized by Orthodox Islam. You know, where's the Nation of Islam? If they go over to the Middle East practicing that shit, they'll get stoned to death. If the Nation of Islam, they don't get acknowledged by those Shiite and those Sunni Muslims, right? Wallace Fard, Muhammad, and all that other stuff. No, those Ishmaelites will look at those niggas that's saying that they subscribe to the religion of Islam like y'all are watered down, y'all are the generic version, y'all are counterfeit. Why? Because Ishmael understands who his brother is. And he understands that those Jake that are walking around with bow ties on and final calls and bean pies, y'all are not Ishmaelites, but rather y'all are the seed of Isaac. Y'all are the seed of Jacob. Y'all are Israelites. You see what I'm saying? Let me bring this out real quick. In Colossians 2:18. That's why we come out here to wake up our people to who they truly are. Right? The ox knoweth his own, and the answer is his master's crib. But Israel does not know. It said, my people do not consider. Right? And right here, we're on the cusp of Valentine's Day. You know, our people are beast of burden in this society, so they're always looking forward to the next holiday, the next pagan holiday, so that they can actually take a day off of their burdens at their jobs and kick their feet up. And most of these holidays, not only are they set up to pillage our pockets, we're oppressed. A lot of our people don't even have the means to pay their bills, to fill up their refrigerators, to get caught up on their utilities, but they'll go in debt to partake in any of these heathenistic customs. From Christmas, you know, one right now that our women get in Valentine's Day, right? Look up the street here, and what do you have? You have these booths being set up, these tents, right? Look just right across the street from where I am. What do you have there? Let me see if I could pan in real quick. Well, I can't. All right, but you have those teddy bears underneath that tent, right? Those pink teddy bears where our people are wise to do evil, like it says in Jeremiah 4:22, right? We're not even supposed to be touching anything that's unclean, anything that's supposed to be sacrificed unto idols. But our people will try to profit in this society. They'll go and they'll try to buy 200 dolls, 200 teddy bears. They'll make baskets. Why? Because they understand our people are wise to do evil. Our people are rebellious. They're real transgressive. When it comes down to following the Most High's words and doing what he says, a lot of our people, that's their Achilles heel. You know, they don't want to come back into the knowledge of Yahweh while Yahweh Shah. And there are men that the Most High actually sends out to let them know what it is to please the Father. You don't have to wing it. We'll let you know by the Spirit of truth what it is that you need to do to obtain salvation. Or like I said, the elect, they're going to have the faith, they're going to have the desire to please their Heavenly Father. Right? This is why they're going to seek out the old path, like it says in Jeremiah 16:16. Let me start off with that real quick. Right? This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 16, and verse 16. I'm sorry, I'm going to Jeremiah 6:16. This is Jeremiah chapter 6 and verse 16, and it reads, Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the way and see, and ask for the old path, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein. I also set watchmen over you, saying, hearken unto the sound of the trumpet. But they said, we will not hearken. Right? Let me bring this out one more time. Stand ye in the way and see, and ask for the old path. Where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein. Right? Majority of our people, this is what they said in their mind's eye. They said, we will not walk therein, right? Even though we're out here, they make a conscious decision to reject the word. We're telling them what they should do and what they should refrain from, but they're not trying to hear it. Why? Because the Most High hasn't brought those judgments down, right? They're still in their mirth, right? It says in their affliction, they'll seek me early in the book of Hosea, right? But while the sun is still shining, while they still yet have liberty, they're gonna mock, they're gonna scoff, they're gonna cast this behind their back. Just like it said in Jeremiah 6:16, right? This is Jeremiah chapter 32, verse 30. It said, for the children of Israel and the children of Judah have only done evil before me from their youth. For the children of Israel have only provoked me to anger with the work of their hands, said the Lord. For this city has been to me as a provocation of mine anger and of my fury from the day that they built it even unto this day, that I should remove it from before my face. Right? It said the Most High will dwell in the midst of Israel in Joel 2:27. But us being put into captivity is us being hidden from the Most High's face. Why? For us being rebellious, for us being transgressive, hard-hearted. Right? Let me bring this out one more time. It says, for the children of Israel and the children of Judah have only done evil before me from their youth. For the children of Israel have only provoked me to anger with the work of their hands, said the Lord. For this city hath been to me as a provocation of mine anger and of my fury from the day that they built it even to this day, that I should remove it from before my face. Because of all the evil of the children of Israel and of all the children of Judah, which they have done to provoke me to anger, they, their kings, their princes, their priests, and their prophets, and the men of Judah, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And they have turned unto me the back and not the face. Though I taught them rising up early and teaching them, yet they have not hearkened to receive instructions. They have not hearkened to receive instruction, right? It said that they set their back to the Most High. They don't want to hear it, and not their face. And that provokes our power, right? This is why we've been brought low, because the Most High made good on his word that he professed in the law of Moses, that he would bring us low, that he would sell us to our enemies. Let me bring that out in the book of Baruch real quick. This is the book of Baruch, chapter 4 and verse 6. It says, you were sold to the nations not for your destruction, but because ye moved God to wrath. Ye were delivered unto the enemies, for ye provoked him that made you. Baruch chapter 4 verse 6 one more time. Ye were sold to the nations not for your destruction, but because ye moved God to wrath. Ye were delivered unto the enemies, for ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils, and not to Yahweh. Right? Right? You provoke the Most High, right? By getting into this idolatry. Have no other God before me, right? This is something that our people don't understand. It's smoke in our power's nose, right? They don't understand that the Heavenly Father, he's beautified when we obey him. We were created, the whole duty of man. It says that in Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. The whole duty of man. This is why we were created, to serve him. And when I say we, that's Israelites. All nations cannot serve their Heavenly Father because he didn't give them instructions on how to serve him. Right? The nations, that's why he gave them idols. Right? This is Sirach, Ecclesiastes in the Old Testament, chapter 12, verse 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. The Israelite man, woman, and child. This is our whole duty. To fear God and keep his commandments. right? And it says in the scriptures that none of his commandments are grievous, right? But a lot of our people, they don't want to get into order, right? They want to move in error. They want to stay in that spirit of rebellion. And we know that rebellion is as a sin of witchcraft, right? And foolishness, utterly, right? Because today, this is what a lot of our people are doing right now. They're preparing their coolers for the beer. They're preparing their chicken wings. You know, they had those marinating for probably the past day. They're gonna crank up the barbecue grill with all types of abominable food. And most of all, you're pretty much gonna celebrate your captivity. You know, when you're dealing with the NFL is pretty much a farming system for the NCAA, right? When you're dealing with college, when you're dealing with high school, what do you have? You have usury. You have the Lord's people, chiefly young men that have their talents, they have their skills, their abilities, and most of all their wealth taken from them. And another nation actually using our talent, skills, our names, our likeness to fortify them and their children, right? There was a movie that came out in the 90s called Life. It starred Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. But in the movie Life, it pretty much showed how the Major League Baseball Corporation, MLB, was using these prisons. They were using the prisons as farming systems to get the best and the brightest talent into their Major League Baseball system, right? Because on the movie Life, what did you have? You had Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence. They were serving life on a prison farm where they would actually have to go out and work on a chain gang. But to have recreation, even in prison, they would allow them to play baseball. They would allow them to partake in some type of sports, right? But on the movie Life, what did you have? You had a man by the name of Can't Get Right. He was a mute, or he couldn't speak. He was dumb, deaf and dumb. He could not speak, and he actually impregnated a so-called white woman that was on this prison farm. Her father actually ran the prison, right? But Can't Get Right was very athletically inclined, right? He had skill in this fictional movie. They would be out and they would be playing baseball, and Can't Get Right, he was an actor that was pretty much smacking them out the park. He was hitting home runs left and right. But on the movie, what happened was, within the prison, Can't Get Right started to create a buzz. People would know that he was talented, he was skilled. So to actually commute his sentence, you actually had a representative from the Major League Baseball go to the prison and actually get Can't Get Right out of prison. Not because his time was up, not because he had committed a crime and he had to do the time. No, they got him out of jail so that he could go serve their interests, right? And that's the same analogy for what goes on within major, the National Football League, what goes on in NBA. You know, our people are robbed, our people are spoiled, right? Let me bring this out in Ezekiel 42 and 22. Our people have their talents, skills, abilities, and wealth robbed from them, and it goes to serve a whole nother nation, right? And the Bible calls it out because we're under those curses. You know, Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, from the 15th verse on down, it talks about our socio-economical condition. We're under those spiritual curses where unless the Most High be with you and you're walking in that knowledge, you're not going to find any rest, right? You're not going to find a hiding place. You're not going to find shelter in this place. This is Isaiah chapter 42 and verse 22. It said, but this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none said deliver, for a spoil, and none said restore. But the point is, it said this is a people robbed and spoiled, you know, hid in prison houses. Right? America is a vast prison where you have mobility from sea to shining sea, but you'll realize it's a prison if you try to leave here without certain supporting documents, certain permits, passports. You'll realize that you don't have free mobility to leave America whenever you get ready. This is a corporation, but within this so-called corporation, the Lord's people, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, our skills, our talents, our abilities, and our wealth has been robbed from us. And another nation is benefiting from it, passing it down as an inheritance to their children, to further the wealth gap, to further the divide between the haves and the have-nots. With the Lord's people, we're paying the position of the have-nots in this present time. Let me bring this out one more time. This is Isaiah chapter 42, verse 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for prey, and none said deliver. For spoiled, right? Our people are spoiled in this place. Like I said, the NFL is a good example. Super Bowl Sunday. A lot of these athletes, they were lucky and they were fortunate enough to make it through high school, to make it through college, and to actually establish means of providing for themselves and their family through the NFL, the NBA, the MLB. But that just represents what? Usury. Just like on the movie Life, I keep going back to that example. Can't get right. He was actually in prison, and he was smacking them out of the park until a representative from Major League Baseball saw that those talents, skills, and abilities could be exploited to bring them wealth, right? Here it is in the National Football League. You don't have arenas that have the seating capacity as college. You know, these college arenas and stadiums from the University of Tennessee where the Volunteers play, the University of Michigan, the Ohio Buckeyes. You have the Georgia Bulldogs here in Athens. Do you know that these arenas, some of them have seating capacity damn near 100,000 seats? Far more seats than Major League Baseball. Far more seats than these NFL stadiums. Far more seating capacity than these basketball arenas. But people don't look at the money that's being generated, right, from these advertising companies, these corporations. They pay these actual universities because a lot of these games that get televised, that brings in marketing money, advertising dollars, right? These actual television stations, these corporations, these networks will actually pay the schools X amount of millions of dollars annually so that they could televise the games, the bowl games, right? The championship games, so on and so forth. That brings in a lot of revenue, right? But what do the students get out of these profits? They get food, clothes, and shelter. That's what they boast in. You're gonna come to the school on a scholarship, right? Of course you're gonna scholarship them. You're gonna pay for their education because you're using them. And everybody knows that a lot of these athletes, they're dumb jocks. They can matriculate through high school, they matriculate through college. Why? Because the teachers are just past them. Because it's a business. A lot of these schools, their athletic programs bring them in more money than any of the intellectual departments or faculties. Why? Because it's about money. So although they say they're giving you a scholarship, a lot of these athletes, they come out injured and they come out dumb. You know, a big 7-foot nigga working in Best Buy, if he doesn't make the league. You know, a big 400-pound safety, a 400-pound offensive tackle. He hurts his knee. What can he do out in this free world? A lot of them looking like damn fools. But the fact of the matter is, when these athletes go to these colleges, they boast on education. We're giving you a free education, and which is pretty much indoctrinating them into how they could do the bidding in Esau's corporation. Because that's what our people do when they go into these colleges. They get indoctrinated on how they could do Esau's bidding in his corporations when he get out. That's why 2 Maccabees chapter 4 and 15 said they love the glory of the Grecians best of all. A lot of these athletes, when they go to college, they'll get branded by one of these Greek fraternal organizations so that they have an advantage when they get out. It said that in 2 Maccabees 4 and 15. They love the glory of the Grecians best of all, because they understand that when I get out, I'm gonna need some type of advantage. This is why on the job applications, they ask you, are you a part of any organizations? Because it will give you an advantage here within Esau's corporations. The black boule, of course the so-called white man runs it, but he'll put these, so-called blacks in his corporations as figureheads. Look at Kamala Harris, the vice president of the United States. She pledged in one of these Greek sororities. Why, if you look at any of these athletes that are renowned, both quarterbacks in today's Super Bowl, they've been initiated into fraternities. A lot of the announcers and the sports analysts, a lot of them, they're Greek. Why? This is why the scripture said they love the glory of the Grecians best of all. Right, let me bring that out real quick in 2 Maccabees. Right, 2 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 15. Because through these Greek fraternal orders, this is how Esau maintains control. He knows that he can't go amongst so-called blacks and control it, but he will put his agents, his figureheads, to speak on his behalf, to do his bidding. Right, 2 Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 15, and it reads, 2 Maccabees chapter 4 verse 15, and it reads, not setting by the honor of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all. Not liking the honor of their fathers, that's our people that wanted to start the Negro leagues, right? At one point we had our own leagues where our best and our brightest would take their talents to do what? Serve on a platform where Jake was running. But what happened with the Negro League? Our people were poor. Our people were broke. So that's when Amalek comes in. When our people are broke, when our people are indigent and they don't have money, that's when the so-called Jews come in. It's the wallet. They will actually give the players contracts. They'll set up the infrastructure, just like during the slave trade. And hey, guess what? You don't have to do anything but bring your talent, and they will exploit your talent. Just like with the NFL today. Our best and our brightest, they love the glory of the Grecians best of all. Deion Sanders, he was talking about all of our best and our brightest and our most talented athletes going to take their talents to an HBC, a historically black college and university. Even though the Jews run that in their curriculum and the whole 9 yards, we're not going to get into that right now. But Deion, he couldn't even maintain the cause. He couldn't even stick to his integrity. He saw that these colleges are broke, they're dilapidated, the books are outdated, the funding is not there. So what did he do? He took his talents, his skills, and his abilities to Colorado and took a lot of students with him. Why? Because, hey, we're robbed, we're spoiled. When our people try to stand on integrity, they got to realize that, hey, you'll maintain your integrity, but you won't be able to have the fame, the wealth. You won't be able to have the prestige that you would by joining into your enemy's system. Because that's what the NFL is, right? Our enemies set up an infrastructure wherein they can exploit the talent, skills, and abilities of so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, right? They go to the NFL and then they cannot even take that money They can't take that position and hand it down to their children as an inheritance, right? A lot of those players that are coaches, once they get fired or they retire, they can't pass that coaching job down to their child. You know, a lot of these leagues, as far as the franchises, hey, Jake, you're the beast of burden, but guess what? You won't be able to guarantee that your child will be able to have a slot on that team or in that front office. Why? Because you are being exploited. Like it says in Isaiah 4:22. You're being robbed. You're being spoiled. You're a beast of burden that's used to enrich another nation. Right? Your son's talent, skills, abilities, and his wealth are being robbed from him. Just like in the movie Life. You know, these colleges are used as farming systems. You know, these scouts from the NBA, the MLB, and the NFL, they could just go to any one of these colleges and they could look at the best and the brightest talent and they could get them to go and serve them once they get out of college, right? But a lot of people, when you're looking at the Super Bowl, you're not looking at that as exploitation. You're not looking at that as, damn, we could have our own enterprises. We can have our own corporation. We can have our own sports, media, conglomerates, and networks. Why do our people not look at it as though they're being exploited? Why do our people not look at it as though they're being robbed? You know, why do our people not look at it as what it is, which is usury, right? The Bible calls it out. Let me bring this out in the book of Jeremiah 2 and verse 14. It said, is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? You know, our people don't have anything to compare their experience within the interiors of America to. They've been slaves in America from the time they were little. They went pee-wee football. Then they went from pee-wee football to Pop Warner. Then they went from Pop Warner to freshman. From freshman to JV. JV to starting five on varsity. Then from starting five on varsity, you get a recruitment letter in the mail where some coach is trying to influence you to come to his school to continue to get used. But at that point, you're making them millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Your name, your likeness, you know, it said, is Israel a homeborn slave? You know, and for the most part, our people are homeborn slaves. Our people will be used, abused, taken advantage of by the nations round about, and they never even considered. Damn, is it supposed to be like this? Right, it said that in Isaiah 1 and 3. Even the ox and the ass, they'll be like, hold on. They'll start taking things into consideration. Here it is. I'm blowing my knee out. I'm trying to take this man's head off. And all they giving me is a dorm room. They boasting they getting the best food, of course. Look at all the money y'all bringing in. Y'all better feed your slaves. Food, clothes, and shelter. Because even during slavery, what would happen? You would go out, you would work from can't see morning to can't see night, but the master, he would provide you shelter in some little shack. He will provide you clothes in the form of rags. And he will give you food, the scraps of the worst food or whatever. Right? And guess what? You didn't have to pay any bills. You know, that's just like the scholarship. You don't have to pay for anything, tuition free. But they're using you. And when you go to these colleges, once the football season starts, from conditioning to the games, I don't see how a lot of them are able to focus on their schoolwork because the standards are so high at some of these universities. You know, the conditioning is so rigorous. It takes so much dedication and effort and focus that I don't see how you can focus on your scholastic responsibilities. And this is why even in high school, the teachers would allow the athletes, the jocks, to just matriculate through class because they understood to be a student athlete is a job wherein you really have to focus on achieving the results for the athletic programs because that's bringing into school most of their money.